Have you ever noticed that the more kind-hearted you are, the less people seem to take you seriously? That the more you try to please, the more others seem to dismiss you, test your limits, or take advantage of your goodwill? You might not be able to articulate it, but your body knows. It surfaces in the tightness you feel when you suppress a response, in the ache of realizing your voice isn't truly heard, in the quiet rage of watching cold, calculating, even unkind individuals receive respect while you, who only ever wanted peace, get trampled underfoot. But what if this wasn't random? What if there was a pattern to this? A dark, uncomfortable, but undeniable truth. Over 5 centuries ago, Machiavelli declared that it's safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose between the two. It sounds harsh, maybe even heartless, but in many ways the world we live in echoes that sentiment. People respond more readily to power than to kindness. Not because they are inherently cruel, but because the human psyche respects boundaries more than it does benevolence. It values strength over submission. And let's be clear, this isn't about becoming cruel, manipulative, or narcissistic. It's about something more profound, realizing that goodness alone doesn't guarantee respect. That kindness, when not backed by strength, becomes a signal of vulnerability. Like blood in the ocean, it draws predators. Perhaps you're already at that crossroads, exhausted from being overlooked, from giving too much, from always being the one in the shadows. And maybe you're asking, how do I gain respect without betraying who I am? How do I embody strength without hardening my heart? This message is for you. In this video, we'll peel back the illusion that kindness by itself is enough. We'll explore psychological truths about fear, respect, and authority. And through Machiavelli's lens, we'll learn how to embody a presence that others can no longer overlook. Because in the real world, those who fail to draw boundaries are the ones most often pushed over the edge. If you're ready to confront the mirror and finally understand why you're treated the way you are, keep watching. What follows might shift the way you carry yourself permanently. Kindness in isolation does not command respect. It only does so when it's backed by something stronger. The common misstep is believing that being a good person, being accommodating, avoiding conflict, putting others first, will naturally earn you value in the eyes of others. But the mind doesn't work that way. Respect isn't born from kindness alone. It's born from the perception of authority. And authority, my friend, is shaped by presence, by a grounded posture, unwavering clarity, and yes, by the subtle gravity of fear. Psychological research has shown that people instinctively pay attention to what they fear. When someone establishes clear limits, speaks with conviction, and steps away from toxic dynamics without hesitation, they send an unmistakable message: not here, not with me. And the other person's mind receives that message like a boundary marked in stone, an invisible electric fence warning, tread carefully. Now contrast that with someone who says yes when they mean no, who over-explains to avoid misunderstanding, who smiles through discomfort, who stays silent to keep the peace. To the outside world, that doesn't signal confidence, it signals access. And where access is unchecked, exploitation begins. Fear and respect are interwoven in subtle but potent ways. And this has nothing to do with loud threats, raised voices, or domineering behavior. Those are the weapons of insecurity masquerading as control. True inner strength expresses itself through calm restraint, through the kind of silence that doesn't beg to be understood, through the firm no that needs no explanation, through the gaze that knows its own worth. Machiavelli didn't suggest cruelty for cruelty's sake. He pointed to a truth that's still relevant today. People forget kindness quickly, but they never forget the person who made them think twice before crossing a line. This truth applies to leaders and rulers, yes, but it applies just as much to you, at work, with friends, in love. Those who never grasp this dynamic spend their lives trying to be liked, but liking doesn't equate to respect. And maybe now you're wondering, so, is being kind a mistake? Not quite. But there is a paradox, and that's what we'll dive into next. In the next section, we'll explore one of the deepest internal struggles many people face, the dilemma of kindness. How do you recognize when your kindness has crossed into self-erasure? And what can you do when you realize you've been taken advantage of precisely because you tried to be fair? Get ready to face the mirror. The truth may sting, but it also holds the key to your liberation. If this is resonating, if something deep inside you is lighting up, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Be part of this channel and let's keep digging. Your support means everything. Maybe no one warned you. Maybe you were raised to believe that goodness was enough, that empathy would be repaid in kind, that selflessness was a virtue the world would reward, that your softness would soften others. But reality doesn't operate on that logic. In this world, kindness without vigilance becomes a scent. And there are those, yes, they exist, who are drawn to it like wolves to blood. There's a cruel paradox beneath the surface. The gentler you are, the easier you become to wound. And this eats away at you. You start to question, is there something wrong with me? Am I too open, too soft? But if I harden, if I stop giving, and will I still be me? That's where many lose themselves because they mistake strength for corruption. But here's the truth most people never say out loud. There's no real compassion without power behind it. A kindness that doesn't protect itself, that doesn't know how to say enough, that doesn't recognize when it's being drained, isn't kindness. It's innocence, a psychological snare designed to keep good people bound to the role of emotional caretakers. This snare has a name, the need for validation. You learn to be the agreeable one, the one who absorbs, who yields, who forgives even when forgiveness hasn't been earned. You start to believe that harmony is worth your silence, that being kind means never saying no. And so you vanish into relationships where only you bend, only you give, only you bleed. Psychologists call it self-abandonment. You start to disappear inside yourself just to preserve the illusion that you're good, worthy, safe. But the cost is devastating. Yes, others lose respect for you. But worse, you lose respect for yourself. Here's what you must understand. Goodness is not weakness, but goodness without discernment leads to suffering. Machiavelli understood this. He didn't want you to become cruel. He wanted you to stop pretending people are better than they are. Because human nature, at its core, respects those who know how to guard their soul. Now the question becomes, how do you protect yourself without becoming what you fear? How do you command respect, perhaps even fear, without descending into the darkness you've spent your life avoiding? This is where we begin the next descent, into the mind of Machiavelli, and why his brutal insights may be the very shield you've been missing. Niccolo Machiavelli was no idealist. He lived surrounded by masks and knives, political deception, civil unrest, alliances forged in convenience and shattered in silence. He saw the part of humanity most of us refuse to face. That influence belongs not to the pure of heart, but to those who understand the machinery behind the mask. And from that raw clarity came the prince, his most infamous offering to the world. Vilified by some, worshipped by others, but dismissed only by those too afraid to see the truth. Machiavelli wasn't a sadist. He was a surgeon of human behavior. While others dreamed of how rulers should behave, he wrote about how they do behave. He knew that in a world ruled by self-interest, idealism without strategy is a setup for betrayal. Anyone who hopes to lead, whether a nation or simply their own life, must grasp the hidden game beneath the surface. When he wrote that it's safer to be feared than loved, he wasn't praising cruelty. He was naming something most never admit, that love is fragile, conditional, easily lost. People love you when you serve a purpose, when your presence benefits them. But that love dissolves the moment you refuse, the moment your yes becomes a no. Fear used wisely becomes a shield. It draws a line. It builds an invisible perimeter around your dignity. A threshold that says you may come this far and no further. Machiavelli didn't view fear as a weapon of harm, but as a form of protection. Because a person who inspires no fear will eventually be crossed, betrayed, or broken. Where there is no fear, there is no pause. And where there is no pause, people show their worst. But he also warned, fear must be measured. Because when fear turns to hatred, a rebellion begins to simmer. True authority is not terror. It is a silent command born of control, clarity, and precision. Machiavelli championed restraint, not chaos. He knew that rage is noise. But a man who leads through composed presence, he never needs to raise his voice. Now pause, reflect. Are you the ruler of your life? Or do others pull the strings? Have you become the person who draws the line? Or the one who is pushed until they break? The answer lies in your posture, in how you teach the world to treat you, and that's what we'll explore next. How to command respect without becoming feared for the wrong reasons. How to shape an energy so steady and unshakable that even your silence commands attention. This is where the shift begins. There's a difference between being feared and being hated. Fail to recognize that difference and you'll fall into one of two extremes: silence that invites violation, or severity that breeds revolt. True command lives in the space between. It is a rare balance, an art few ever master. To be feared does not mean to be loud. It does not mean domination, intimidation, or cold manipulation. That isn't leadership, it's coercion, and coercion always decays. Eventually, fear without love curdles into resentment, and resentment is a seed of rebellion. Machiavelli warned of this. He said, "A wise leader avoids hatred like poison, because fear can hold people in line, but hatred makes them dream of your fall." So here lies the secret. Build respect so deep that no one dares cross you, but be just enough that no one secretly wants to. How? With clarity, with calm, with unwavering consistency. You must move through the world in such a way that your silence has weight, your no is felt, and your absence leaves a space no one fills easily. This isn't something you fake, it's something you become in the tiny moments, refusing to explain yourself to people who already understand, leaving rooms that dull your spirit without apology, letting your boundaries speak louder than your words. It's about reclaiming the ground beneath you and declaring without rage or chaos, "I do not belong to anyone's expectations." Psychology proves this. The most respected people are those who assert power quietly, not by confronting but by withdrawing what cannot be replaced. It's what psychologists call latent power, the kind that doesn't scream but still makes others hesitate. That is the power of being feared without being hated, of mastering yourself rather than anyone else. Because those who hold themselves with poise, with containment, with unwavering self-respect, are the ones others watch closely and tread carefully around. But what happens when even that isn't enough? What if, despite your efforts, you're still being overlooked, drained, tested? That's when we must go deeper, into the psychological basement where your patterns were formed. In the next part, we'll step into the most intimate battlefield, your inner world. We'll uncover how your emotional conditioning might still be keeping you small. And more importantly, how to break that spell and emerge as someone unshakable, undeniable, and finally, respected, now that you've grasped the necessity of being respected. of carrying a quiet firmness, of commanding just enough fear. It's time to turn inward, because it's one thing to understand all this in theory, and another entirely to live it. If beneath the surface you're still haunted by the thought of upsetting others, of being unloved for drawing a line, then the real battleground is not out there. It's inside you. And that's where the true shift must begin. Many are shaped early by the invisible hands of survival, conditioned to please, to smile, to shrink, just to be accepted. They were raised in households where love felt conditional, where disagreement was punished with silence, where no was treated like betrayal. And so they grew into adults who apologize for existing, who stay quiet to avoid tension, who tolerate far less than they deserve because somewhere along the way they were convinced that boundaries are bridges to loneliness. But this is not virtue. It is self-erasure. It's an inherited script that rewrites your identity in the language of submission. And the longer you follow it, the deeper it roots itself. Every time you say yes when your soul whispers no, you reinforce the idea that your needs are negotiable. Every time you avoid conflict, you fertilize the soil of injustice. And every time you offer forgiveness to someone who feels no remorse, you authorize their harm. Let this be clear. Respect begins at the core of who you are. If there is no internal resolve, external authority crumbles. If you cannot stand firm with yourself, no one else will. If you don't believe you're worthy of defending, no one will step in to protect you. This new identity, the unshakable one, starts not with loud declarations, but with quiet choices. Begin to notice the moments when you betray your voice just to keep the peace. Ask yourself, where do I shrink to fit? Around whom do I feel the need to wear a mask? These are the moments you must reclaim, not with aggression, but with unwavering presence, with deliberate truth. And as you start to reclaim that truth, expect resistance. Some will label you difficult, cold, detached, but understand, this isn't about you. It's about their discomfort with your transformation. Your shift will unsettle those who depended on your silence. And yes, people will fall away, but there's power in losing those who only ever stayed to benefit from your absence. Because when you begin to embody who you truly are, the world responds. People who once overlooked you start to take notice. Relationships that once drained you either fall apart or evolve. You stop chasing love like a desperate child and begin attracting respect, because you are no longer too available, and what is rare is revered. Still, there remains one final question, one that lingers quietly beneath everything we've explored. How do you hold this new strength without becoming the very thing you despise? How do you remain rooted in clarity, integrity, and respect even while wielding power? This is what we explore now. There comes a crossroads, one that most people avoid. You either continue sacrificing your truth for approval or you decide once and for all to stop begging for emotional scraps and begin behaving like someone who knows they matter. The truth is mercilessly simple. No one will give you what you refuse to claim for yourself. You don't need to grow callous. You don't need to become a tyrant. But you must learn to fortify yourself, to raise invisible walls where there were once open gates, to meet manipulation not with rage, but with the kind of silence that says not anymore. This is real power. It doesn't yell, it doesn't chase, it simply exists, undeniable, unshakable in your gaze, your tone, your stillness. And it begins the moment you stop trying to be loved and start demanding to be respected. Machiavelli understood this centuries before us. He knew that love, though beautiful, is often conditional, tied to whims, to benefits, to illusion. But respect, when built on strength and self-command, endures. It safeguards, it shields. This is what you must cultivate. Not admiration, not affection, but sovereignty over your own self. Because once you understand that kindness without power is merely performance, everything begins to shift. You do not become hard, you become whole. You do not give from emptiness, you give from choice. You love deeply, but no longer at your own expense. You forgive, but with eyes wide open. You know when to walk away, and because of that, no one dares to take you for granted again. And now, I ask you, where in your life do you feel your voice slipping away? At work, in your relationships, in your family? Write it in the comments. Your reflection may spark recognition in someone else. Awareness is always the first fracture in the chain. And if this message struck something in you, if it lingered, if it hurt, it means you're ready to step forward. Don't stop here. Don't turn away from the discomfort. The next video holds just as much weight, maybe more, because knowing the theory of self-respect is only the first step. Now begins the excavation, the reconstruction, the real journey into who you were always meant to be.